The silent injustice. A trip to the bank that changed everything. Have you ever had a moment where you felt invisible? Where you were standing in plain sight, speaking clearly, following the rules, yet somehow you weren't being heard? Now imagine this. You walk into your local bank. It's a routine errand, something you've done dozens, maybe even hundreds of times before. The air is crisp with the scent of fresh receipts and disinfectant. Customers line up, some chatting idly, others glued to their phones. It's just another day. But as you step forward, something shifts. The teller's expression tightens. Their eyes flicker with something unreadable. A moment of hesitation, a glance exchanged with a colleague. Then their voice measured, polite but firm. "I'm sorry, but we can't process this transaction." You frown. Your account is in good standing. You have ID. Everything checks out. So why the pushback? You ask for a reason. The response is vague. You push a little harder, but the conversation turns cold. Other customers are watching now, their curious glances pressing in from all sides. And then it hits you. This isn't about bank policy. It's not about insufficient funds. It's about you, who you are, what you look like, the assumptions made before you even said a word. For some people, moments like this are an exception, a misunderstanding easily brushed off. But for others, it's an all too familiar pattern. A quiet, relentless erosion of dignity that chips away, piece by piece, over time. But here's where this story takes a turn. Because this time, the man on the receiving end of this silent discrimination doesn't just walk away. He doesn't let it slide. Instead, he stands his ground. And what happens next forces an entire institution to confront its own bias, right in front of the world. This isn't just one man's experience. It's a reflection of something much bigger. And today we're going to break it all down. Public reckoning. The man takes a steady breath, forcing himself to stay calm. He knows how this goes. He's seen it play out before. Maybe not here, not at this bank, but in 100 other small, insidious ways. If he raises his voice, he'll be labeled aggressive. If he demands answers, he'll be difficult. But if he stays silent, he'll walk away with nothing but frustration. And the quiet, gnawing knowledge that it will happen again. So he chooses something different. He asks for the manager. The teller hesitates. There's a flicker of something, uncertainty, maybe even regret. But the request is granted. A few minutes later, a neatly dressed supervisor appears. Their smile professional but distant. What seems to be the issue? The man explains. His voice is steady, measured. He lays out the facts. His ID is valid, his transaction is routine, and yet, for some reason, he's being denied service. He waits. The manager glances at the teller, then back at him. There's no real answer, just vague reassurances, an empty apology, and a suggestion that it must be some kind of misunderstanding. But the man knows better, and so do the people watching, because by now the situation has drawn attention. Other customers are shifting uncomfortably, some whispering to one another. One or two are recording on their phones. And then, the moment that changes everything. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." That's when the weight of it hits. This isn't just a mistake. It's not just a mix-up. It's a refusal. A quiet, deliberate act that says, you don't belong here. But what they don't realize, what they fail to account for, is that this man isn't alone. Within hours, the video is online. It spreads. People recognize the bank. The comments pour in. Some outraged, some exhausted, some sharing their own stories of being denied, dismissed, or treated with quiet suspicion. And suddenly, this isn't just his story anymore. It's a mirror held up to an entire system. When silence is no longer an option. What happens next is what always happens when institutions are forced to confront the truth. The bank issues a statement, something polished, something vague. We take these matters seriously. We are conducting an internal review. But the damage is already done. Because here's the thing. Racism isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with slurs or outright hostility. Sometimes it's in the hesitation, the unspoken rules, the policies that seem neutral on the surface but have been used, time and time again, to exclude. And the people who experience it, They remember. The question is, what do we do with that knowledge? Do we let it slide? Do we tell ourselves it's not worth the fight? Or do we name it for what it is and demand better? Because the truth is, change doesn't happen because institutions suddenly decide to do the right thing. It happens because people, ordinary people, refuse to stay silent. And this time, silence is not an option. The ripple effect. The video doesn't just fade into the endless scroll of content. It strikes a nerve. It lingers. Within days, local news picks it up. Then national outlets. The bank is forced to respond, not with vague statements this time, but with real action. They announce new training initiatives, a review of their policies, even disciplinary measures against those involved. But here's the question. Would any of this have happened if the video didn't exist? Would this man's experience have been dismissed as a misunderstanding? Would he have been labeled angry or difficult for daring to push back? Would this have just been another quiet act of exclusion, buried under 1,000 others that never made the news? This is the reality for so many people. Unless there's proof, unless there's a recording, a witness, a public outcry, discrimination is too easily denied, too easily excused. And even now, there are those who will say it wasn't about race. But that's the privilege of never having to question whether your presence will be challenged. That's the privilege of moving through the world without second-guessing whether you'll be served, believed, or treated with dignity. For those who don't have that privilege, moments like this are not just incidents. They are reminders. And for the rest of us, they are a choice. So what happens now? The man in the bank didn't set out to make a statement that day. He just wanted to complete a simple transaction. But the moment became bigger than him. And now the rest of us have to decide. Do we treat this as just another viral story, destined to be forgotten in a week? Or do we use it as fuel, as proof that the things we talk about, the injustices we name, are real? Because this isn't just about one man, one bank, one refusal. It's about a system that allows these moments to happen over and over again. And if we're paying attention, if we're truly listening, then we know the next step isn't just to be outraged. It's to make sure that next time the outcome is different. That next time silence is not the response. That next time change is not optional. Because this is not just his fight. It's ours. This story isn't just about one man's experience. It's a reflection of a much larger issue. It reminds us that discrimination isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes, it's in the hesitation before serving someone, the extra scrutiny, the unspoken assumptions. But here's the truth, what we tolerate continues. When we ignore these moments, they don't just go away. They reinforce a system where some people are always questioned, always doubted, always made to feel like they don't belong. So what's the lesson? Awareness is power. If you've never experienced this kind of treatment, recognize that others do, every single day. Listen to their stories. Believe them. Silence is compliance. If we don't speak up, if we don't challenge these moments, they will keep happening. Change doesn't come from looking away. Your voice matters. Whether you've been in this position yourself or you're an ally, sharing stories like this is part of the solution. The more we expose injustice, the harder it becomes to deny. Take action now. If this video resonated with you, don't let the conversation end here. Like this video to show that these issues matter. Share it so more people can see the reality of everyday discrimination. Subscribe to the channel so we can keep having these important discussions. Change starts with awareness. Awareness spreads when we speak up. So let's keep this conversation going.